Hi, welcome back to the channel, and thanks for joining me. So I just very briefly want to say apologise for not doing a video for sort of 10 days or so. I had every intention of doing so, but I got a real kind of thick, heavy cold, head cold, and consequently it just feels like you've got a pillow inside your head, and your hearing, is sort of seriously affected, and trying to discern very, very fine and subtle differences just becomes a bit of a non-starter. So I have held off from doing what I wanted to do to talk about today, which is, I'm sure all of you have heard about it, but the Analogue Productions UHQR much anticipated release of Bob Marley and the Wailers' Exodus. Probably his most famous and successful album. 1977 it was released, and this is one I've really been looking forward to ever since getting our Masterman Vibration. Now I'll go into the reasons why particularly in a minute, but let's just run through what you get. So you get these very fancy boxes, as you know, good and solid, and then inside you get a whole gamut of stuff, technical specification sheets on so first of all, this says there's 3,500 pressings of this, so it's a very limited edition. UHQR is referring to the profile of the disc. It's a flat profile disc, which is it was developed by Classic Records, who were bought out by Analogue Productions, and I do firmly believe that there's good sense behind that development. And also Clarity Vinyl, which is we might get onto, but it's a clear vinyl that was developed primarily in response to the Furatech D-Mag, and I might mention that later on, but I'll probably get around to a video on this in greater depth. Cut long story short, I think the Furatech D-Mag still makes as beneficial effect on Clarity Vinyl as it does on black vinyl. So that's just one of those things which is worth picking up at some point and investigating. But anyway, here we are. That's a standard vinyl record profile. As you can see, the playing surface slopes uphill as you go towards the centre, whereas UHQR is dead flat. And if you're one for sort of setting the cartridge stylus absolutely bang on accurately in a groove, that's something that really will make perfectly logical sense to you. And Analogue Productions, they really do explain everything that's going on, and frankly they do it better than anyone else, there's no question about that. There's a advert for other titles, and then here we have a quite a nice little book. It's only 8 pages, but it's very nicely done, with some pictures and an essay about the making of the Exodus album. More pictures in the back cover. Now, what we got in here of interest. So originally released 3rd of June 1977 on Island ILPS 9498. I'll get onto that in a minute. Produced by Bob Marley and the Wailers. Recorded at Harry J's in Kingston, Jamaica, and Island Studios in London. Mixed at Island Studios in London. Engineer Carl Pitterson. Etc. etc. This particular version, mastered by Ryan K. Smith at Sterling Sound, plated and pressed at Quality Record Pressings, which is Analogue Productions' own pressing plant. So, interestingly enough, so the original recording, mixing, etc. it was done at Island Records in London. So the kind of, I would say, and again, there's a reason for me saying this, the definitive release of this, if you like, the definitive original release, I would say, is the UK Island, because that's where it was made, that's where it was mixed, etc, etc, etc. The original masters were cut at Sterling Sound. The original plates were cut at Sterling Sound. but everything about this is it's a product of Island Records in London. Okay, so anyway, nice little booklet. And then here we have the cover, which is extremely gorgeous. This is embossed. I don't know if you can see that, I don't know. And then the rear cover, this little bit here is embossed, and the lions are embossed. And we've got our serial number there, stamped on in gold. It's a nice stiff, sort of matte satin finish card. Really lovely. Really, 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 really lovely. And then finally, by no means least, here we have the record, which comes in a QRP inner, which are really fabulous. And there we have the record. So as I say, pressed on Clarity vinyl at Sterling Sound by Ryan K. Smith. And it is flat as a pancake, whisper quiet. It's you know, there is no question that you would have an issue with this record. I would suggest. I have heard some people, I mean quite a few people, even one of my friends has said, oh, can I bring around my Can't Buy a Thrill to clean at yours, because he's got sort of noise on it. And well, I mean, I do clean all my records as a matter of course when they come in, so I can't say what this sounded like without a cleaning, because I wouldn't play it without a cleaning. It's an interesting thing. I haven't had any problems, but I have heard of problems with the sort of the quality control of QRP. I mean, I can't comment because I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of them, I think, and they've all been perfect. So what can I say? I can only speak from my personal experience. So anyway, that's what you get here. A very, very, very beautiful, impressive and special release of Bob Marley and the Wailers. Possibly, arguably, finest album, Exodus. Now, why was I so keen to hear this? There's a good reason for that, because my previous reference copy of Bob Marley and the Wailers, Exodus, is this, which I have had since the late 1990s. And as you can see, plain white cover. And MA Recordings in a sleeve, by the way, which are my absolute favourites. And what we've got here, if I hold that up to the camera so you can see, Island Records Manufacturing Limited. There we go, Bob Marley. Interestingly enough, they've got A and B written on the wrong sides. But the matrix number of this, ILPS 9498A2. And there is a Sterling stamp on there as well. So this was also made at Sterling Sound. And it says, there's a, before the ILPS, there's an I-1. And on the other side, I-T by the looks of it. T-P-T-P-3. So, okay, test pressing number 3, I guess. Let's have another look at what that says on the other side. Yeah, it looks like T1. I'm not sure. Anyway, very clearly what this is a test pressing of the original release from 1977. As I say, I've had this since the late 90s. And it sounds exceptional. It absolutely annihilated the sort of the regular UK original issue that I had before that. Obviously, living in the UK originals are actually easier to get than US originals or Jamaican originals or whatever. You know, I've compared this to many a record, and there is no contest. This is a staggering sounding piece of vinyl. absolutely staggering. So that's kind of why I was so keen to hear this, because I just thought, well, you know, I've really got something to compare it against here. Really, really, really can. And of course, that wasn't made all the easier by having this blooming head cold and a fat head and sort of you know, cotton wool in the ear hearing. So I've given this a lot of listens over quite a few days, different listening sessions, playing the original first, playing the UHQR first, backwards and forwards. Interestingly enough, I mentioned about the clarity vinyl, demagnetizing them both, you know, using all sorts, you know, giving them a good clean, all that kind of stuff. And basically, I'm very happy to report that the UHQR is exceptionally close to this. Now, bear in mind, I've had this for, you know, more than 20 years, and I have played it to many, many, many visitors. It's almost like the most requested. Someone comes around, oh, can I hear your test pressing of Exodus? And it just sounds incredible. It's so dynamic, it's so alive, it's so open, and it's so detailed. And this sounds very, very, very similar. So much so that certainly with my head cold, I would be listening to one or the other, doing A/B demos, swapping backwards and forwards, and I could actually forget which one I was listening to. But there are some traits, and I will try and just sort of outline those so that you get a feeling of where we're at with this. Now, if there was one thing I would say about the original, if anything, it has a slightly more mellifluous kind of quality to it. It sort of just flows more sweetly. It's kind of slightly more sweet, slightly smoother through the mid-range. The sort of the percussion, the sort of like type of, you know, far left, far right. The sort of, I think most of the tracks, far right is the cymbals, and then far left you've kind of got shakers and sticks and things. But yeah, that varies from track to track. But they are slightly more projected further forward, I would say, on the original test pressing. Bob's vocal is slightly more present as well, and slightly more rounded. And perhaps just the tad. I mean, we're talking between 9.8 and 10 on a scale of colour, if you like. Just it's very, very, very slightly more colour to the mid range. Very, very, very fine. Differences indeed, very, very, very fine. And I would say that the you know, to my taste, possibly this one comes out on top, but we are talking, you know, if I had to put numbers on it, and frankly I'd say they sound so similar, that, you know, I will draw a conclusion in a minute. But if you are wanting to put this one ahead and explain what sounds better about the test pressing, then maybe it just has that a tiny little bit more authentic colour and a tiny little bit more authentic shape, if you like, in the mid-range, where the UHQR wins. And I'm talking on those, you know, that's not to say this is bad in any way, shape or form. I'm talking like 9.8 to 10, you know, very, very, very close indeed. You know, I'm actually borrowing a sort of, you know, DS Audio Grandmaster cartridge and EQ at the moment, which is it's not mine, but it is, you know, it's arguably the best vinyl playing front end ever made, and even with that, these are the kind of levels you're talking about in terms of differences. Whereas the UHQR wins, it is undoubtedly quieter vinyl. There's no question. This is printed on regular 1970s vinyl. It's a test pressing, it's very carefully done and very well done, but nevertheless there is that sort of vinyl roar, if you like, is how I would kind of, you know, there is a noise floor of the vinyl, which is, you know, notably higher on here than on the UHQR. But having said that, I don't find it offensive or intrusive, but it is there, so there is an absence, a detectable absence of noise on the UHQR. Other differences in the sound, the UHQR, I think, I would imagine that Ryan K. Smith has chosen not to roll the low bass off quite as, I say again, quite as steeply as the original, and you know, by no means, both of these sound absolutely utterly phenomenal, so don't get me wrong here, but I'm trying to explain the differences. I think there's a slight little bit more extension in the UHQR in the very lowest registers, and possibly slightly more punch in the sort of mid and upper bass of the test pressing as a result. There's slightly more weight, or I don't think weight's the right word, slightly more body to Bob's voice on the original than there is here. But again, it's, you know, we really are talking gnat's whisker differences. Now, you know, so it's not an out-and-out win. It's not a whitewash for the UHQR like in many other respects it is with their other releases. And you might find that rather disappointing. But honestly, if you'd heard this and compared it to any other version you'll have heard, and you know, like I say, I've had this 25 years probably about, and this is not something that was, you know, test pressings weren't made to be sold to the public. Test pressings are made for assessment, make sure they've got it all right, and they're very carefully made, and then they go into mass production. So this is, you know, this is a stunning thing, of which, you know, how many did they make? I don't know, 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's all there will be. They were never commercially sold. They were never intended for commercial sale. They were, you know, they were tools of the trade of making a record. So basically, you know, there's 3,500 of these, and you'll have to pay at least, I would think, probably £300 or £400 now on the aftermarket for one. This is probably, you know, 2, 3, 4 copies in total ever. And bearing in mind that was made in the 70s, and a lot of these weren't, you know, they didn't find their way out to audiophiles who cherished them. They were like, you know, went to a record producer or an engineer or someone who listened to it. Yep, that's good, and then may have chucked it away. Who knows? So, you know, for all we know, this is unique, and as far as I'm aware, yes, this is uniquely the best sounding version of Exodus I've ever heard, and this one is frankly the match of it. They sound slightly different, very slightly different, but this is, you know, this is even at its you know, very limited 3,500 release, and sort of, you know, lofty price point. It's actually a lot more findable. You know, you find another one of these, you can find, you know, there's half a dozen of these on eBay, or, you know, okay, at, you know, inflated prices, but they are around and you can get them. This one is unobtainium, simple as that. So, you know, I think really here, what we've got to say is hats off and congratulations to Chad for overseeing and masterminding the production of this phenomenal record, and for Ryan K. Smith for the incredibly sensitive mastering of it. You know, for something that is actually commercially available, I've never heard anything quite as good as this. When we're talking, you know, Bob Marley and the Wailers Exodus, I mean, the Rastaman vibration I have got is in a way far more cherished than this is to me, because my Rastaman vibration, unlike this one, is just a regular, it's a UK original, but it's a regular UK original, and the difference between that and this is or the UHQR is phenomenal. Same with the Steely Dans and the rest of it, but you know, I had to compare it to this because it's that's going to be the closest thing that there probably is to the original intent back in 1977. for the release. So, you know, once again, congratulations to Ryan K. Smith and Chad at Analogue Productions for a phenomenal release. And on that note, I'll say cheerio. Please bear with me. I will be back as soon as possible with another video. Quite busy with my day job at the moment, but I hope to get another video out in about a week. Okay, thanks very much, and hopefully see you all soon. Ta-ra, bye.